What's up, guys and gals? Thanks for coming to my YouTube page. I'm glad you guys could come here and watch this video. I wanted to make one here on wholesaling. Now, for any of you guys that have followed me for any length of time, you might have listened to my podcast, which is called the Real Deals Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of things. But we're trying to make videos here on YouTube to really kind of boil it down and give you the information you need in a very concise way. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about wholesaling, which is probably the number one thing that people look up or try and check out or investigate when they get into the world of real estate investing. They want to learn about wholesaling. What is it and how do I do it? So I wanted to shoot a quick video here to really talk about kind of what it is, how you do it, and how it fits into the much larger ecosystem of real estate investing. So, what's wholesaling? Well, in a nutshell, wholesaling is simply going out, finding a property at a discounted price, and then presenting that property to somebody who will either buy it as a rental, or buy it as a fix and flip, or buy it as a redevelopment opportunity from you at a higher price because you're handing it to them on a silver platter. So you, as the wholesaler, your job is to get in front of opportunities, to find potential deals, get them locked up, and when I say locked up, that means under contract, and then present those to a buyer who maybe just doesn't have the time to go look for these deals themselves or execute the marketing campaigns that are necessary in order to get in front of sellers in order to put these deals together. So that's what it is. How do you fit into the real estate investing ecosystem, or where do you fall in the real estate investing ladder? Well, the skill set for wholesaling is as powerful as anything. But generally, wholesaling is kind of the first rung of the ladder that people get into. Now, not everybody does it well, but it's the first rung of the ladder, right? But you need some very high-powered skills, we'll call them, or some very precise skills in order to be good at that first rung of the ladder. And so here you are as a wholesaler. Next up is rehabber. Next up would be home builder. Then we got developer. We've got multifamily, and somewhere off of there we've got rentals and portfolios of ownership and things like that of single-family residences, or multifamily, or whatever it is. But generally at the bottom, you have to find the deals, right? In order to find the deals, and then you can do all these other things. So that's where a wholesaler kind of falls on the spectrum. Now, that's not to discount their skill set, because their skill set, even though you're on the first rung of the ladder, the skill set exceeds a lot of skills that everybody has even further up the ladder, because the most important thing is finding the deal. So how do you find deals, right? Well, there's three ways, generally speaking. Number one is going to be the MLS. And I'm going in reverse order here in terms of what is less and more sophisticated. So MLS is probably the least sophisticated way to find deals. Back in the day, when there were a lot of REOs that were on the market, the MLS was a great place to find potential wholesale deals for people if you bid on them at the right time with the right listing agents. Now, not so much. So MLS is probably the least sophisticated. Then you have auctions. Auctions work, but there's a lot of competition at most auctions. So if you're buying at auction, it's a little more difficult to be able to create a big enough spread for what you buy it for versus what you can immediately sell it for in order to do well wholesaling. A lot of people that buy at auction then retail their product or wholesale it at a minimum because they want to try and create as much spread as possible. So that's a little more sophisticated than MLS buying, but not quite as sophisticated as going direct to seller. So direct to seller marketing, or going directly to sellers to find deals, is the most sophisticated way of finding deals to wholesale. So there's a variety of different ways that you can do that, and I'll put a link in the comments here to another video that I made that kind of goes through all the different ways that you can market to sellers. But just for example, you've got direct mail, which is a whole topic on itself. You've got cold calling, you've got pay-per-click, you've got ringless voicemail, you've got text blast, you've got door knocking. You have all these things that you can do, driving for dollars, which then incorporates a lot of those things. But those are all ways that you can get in front of sellers to ultimately find product to wholesale to somebody. So, what kind of money can you make as a wholesaler? Well, to be honest with you, the sky's kind of the limit, although there is a little bit of a proverbial cap on it. But we've done wholesale deals where, one right here, I'll talk about in a second, where we made $10,000 on last week. We've also done wholesale deals where we've made $100,000. Now, finding those $100,000 wholesale deals is not as easy as it once was, but it's possible to do that. And there's guys that do plenty of wholesale deals every month that all have good margin attached to them. So you can make a lot of money wholesaling. You can make a lot more money doing other things in real estate, but wholesaling is a great place to start, and ultimately it's a great place to make fast money and big margins if you're very good at it. So let's take an example, right? What do you need in order to wholesale a deal? Well, first thing you need is a contract, right? So here's a contract that we have. This is a deal that we closed this past week. We made 10,000 bucks on it. We have a contract here. It's a simple one-page contract. All it does is outline the terms that we as the buyer are buying the house from the seller, right? So we're the person buying the house from the seller, and it outlines when we're going to close, what the price is, what the earnest money is, the basic stuff, and then of course our due diligence period. That due diligence period is when we need to find a buyer, an end buyer for that property. Now, after we get that contract signed and we find an end buyer that we're going to wholesale it to, we have two addendums that we use. Now, some people use an assignable contract and they simply assign the contract. You can do it that way, but we found this way works a little bit easier for us and also causes less friction with the seller. So we have two addendums that we then use. One addendum basically says that the new entity purchasing the property is whoever our buyer is at closing. So instead of my company purchasing the property, it's somebody else's. But all other terms to remain the same. That is signed by myself and the seller. Then the person that we're wholesaling it to signs another addendum. And that addendum states that they are going to be paying my company an assignment fee above and beyond the purchase price in order to be put in our place to purchase the property. So that's it. You have a contract to purchase and you have two addendums. One that basically says that you're changing the entity that is buying the property. So if that makes sense to you, hopefully. And then the second one is the company that is buying it, or the people that are buying it from us as a wholesale deal, they're willing to pay us whatever wholesale fee it is that we're charging. And now with this way, you have to be upfront about what it is that you're charging people, and you have to let them know that you are in fact making a wholesale spread. So there's some good business practice that goes into play here. Some people just kind of send people to closing blind and they don't tell them they're making, X amount of dollars. We never do that. We always tell people what we're making, and they generally don't have a problem with it because we're selling them a deal on the other end. So that's wholesaling, right? It's kind of the first rung of the ladder, but it's one of the most important skill sets that you can acquire in this world of real estate investing. If you get very good at wholesaling, all you're doing is just getting in front of opportunities that are best suited for an investor to buy. And if you can do that over and over and over again, you can make a lot of money and you can run a very successful business. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this breakdown on wholesaling. If you want more, make sure that you go down into the comments. We'll have a link to the Real Deals podcast where I've got 200, almost 300 episodes where you can listen to just about every topic that you can think of on real estate investing. And of course, it's free. So go check it out and make sure you subscribe. And of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel as well if you like what you hear.